Welcome to this explainer. It's pretty wild to think about, but 90% of our global trade relies entirely on the maritime shipping industry. I mean, literally almost everything we own was on a ship at some point. But behind those massive steel containers and super complex logistics networks are the invisible heroes who actually power our modern economy, the seafarers. So today, we're diving straight into the fascinating, sometimes really harrowing, and deeply human reality of life at sea. And we're going to use data and insights straight from the people who actually live it. Think about it. We almost never ask this question when we click buy now and expect next day delivery. Who is actually paying the hidden human cost of getting that package to your door? To really understand this, we've got to challenge our whole perception of the supply chain. Because it's not just about fuel costs and optimal trade routes, right? It is about human endurance. The men and women steering these colossal vessels are carrying an immense, multifaceted burden that goes completely unseen by the rest of us. And the very first layer of that burden, it's the immediate physical danger. 966. Now, that is not some historical statistic from the golden age of piracy centuries ago. That's the actual number of seafarers attacked by pirates in the Gulf of Guinea region in 2012 alone. And that's just one single region. Off the coast of Somalia that exact same year, at least 851 seafarers were attacked. While we might picture maritime piracy as, a crazy plot for a Hollywood action movie, for the crews on these ships, it is a very real, absolutely terrifying occupational hazard. I mean, they are facing automatic weapons, kidnappings, and intense violence just to deliver the world's goods. Now, if you asked these seafarers what their greatest fear is regarding West African piracy, you'd probably expect being killed or being beaten to top the list, right? But look at the highest rating here, a 4.38 out of 5 for family distressed by worry. It actually ranks higher than the fear of being boarded or being kidnapped. It just goes to show that a seafarer's biggest concern during an unimaginably terrifying attack isn't necessarily their own life. It's the agonizing emotional distress it causes their loved ones back home. And the crazy thing is, that trauma doesn't just vanish the second the ship reaches port. Just take a second to read this harrowing quote from a seafarer who actually survived a pirate attack. The physical ordeal might be over, sure, but the psychological scars really persist. The data shows that the vast majority of seafarers who survive these hijackings experience severe long-term impacts. We're talking persistent fear, intrusive memories, sleep disturbances, you name it. Some even completely refuse to return to sea, deciding they'd rather face financial struggle on land than risk their lives again. It's really a silent epidemic of PTSD, and many carry it without adequate psychological support. And unfortunately, that trauma gets compounded by the everyday reality of the job itself. Because hey, even if we take the extreme threat of pirates completely out of the equation, the everyday environment of a seafarer is uniquely tough. On one hand, you have the awe-inspiring, sweeping beauty of the open ocean. But on the other, you have intense, profound psychological isolation. We are talking about months at a time, completely separated from family, friends, and normal society. Research actually highlights that seafarers are significantly more likely to report feeling lonely at sea than they are at home. It's this deep separation anxiety that is essentially baked right into the job description. So, the mental health challenges out there aren't just caused by dramatic events like piracy. They're often the result of systemic, invisible battles. According to some pretty extensive surveys, 61% of seafarers cite getting tired as a leading factor making them feel down or depressed. And that's closely followed by feeling unwell at over 60%. Add to that a lack of shore leave, crazy long working hours, and sometimes, frankly, poor quality food. And you have an environment that just quietly erodes mental health day by day. It's a relentless recipe for emotional exhaustion and what researchers call burnout syndrome. And making this grueling physical and mental toll even heavier is a jarring systemic inequality in how crews are actually paid. Historically, a lot of ship owners have used what's called the country of residence principle. Basically, this means that two seafarers, say one from the Netherlands and one from the Philippines, could be doing the exact same exhausting job on the exact same ship, facing the exact same storms and risks. Yet the Filipino or Indonesian crew member might receive only half the salary of their European colleague. Why? Simply because the cost of living in their home country happens to be lower.
But here is where things get interesting, because the tide is finally turning and this practice is being challenged legally. The Netherlands Institute for Human Rights recently issued this landmark ruling, explicitly stating that this country of residence principle leads to systematic disadvantage based on nationality and race. They essentially affirmed the equal treatment principle, the idea that equal work on the exact same vessel demands equal pay, no matter what passport a worker holds. It sets a really powerful precedent. Economic differences in home countries do not legally or morally justify systemic wage discrimination out on the high seas. Okay, but it isn't strictly hardship and intense legal battles out there. There's a really fantastic contrast to all of this. You have the lonely reality of the vast ocean, absolutely, but you also have the vibrant, totally morale-boosting joy of things like a cruise sack race right on the deck. And look, this isn't just goofing off to kill time. It's literally about survival. The Social Interaction Matters, or SIM, project extensively studied crew welfare, and they found that organized social interaction is absolutely vital for mental resilience. Things like barbecues, sports, games, they help crews manage uncertainty, build incredibly strong relationships, and create a caring environment that actually measurably enhances shipboard safety.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core findings of that SIM project. They actually discovered that having a dedicated social ambassador on board, someone officially recognized to get these activities going, massively boosts morale and social cohesion. It basically proves that structured human connection isn't just some nice corporate perk, it is a crucial safety and well-being measure. When crews are socially connected, their communication improves, their fatigue is mitigated, and they are just so much better equipped to handle the unique, heavy stresses of their environment.
But let's be real, a sack race isn't going to fix everything on its own. We need concrete structural changes. When asked what would actually improve their lives, seafarers make it clear they don't just want reactive self-help apps or counseling after they are already burnt out. They want proactive solutions. And their demands are remarkably straightforward. Free internet access to maintain that vital lifeline to their worried families. Shorter contracts, capped at a maximum of 6 months to prevent severe burnout. Enforced shore leave so they can literally step off the steel box they work in for a minute. And strict anti-bullying policies. The industry has to improve the actual day-to-day terms of the work itself. Now, all of these immediate changes are super vital right now, especially because the maritime industry is standing right on the edge of a monumental technological shift. To combat climate change, global shipping is moving fast toward decarbonization and zero-emission vessels. But as we completely overhaul the engines, we absolutely cannot forget the people operating them. This brings us to a really important concept, a just transition. A just transition means ensuring that this massive, industry-wide shift to green energy is worker-centered. It means the millions of seafarers powering our global trade have to be actively protected and uplifted, not just left behind in the dust of progress. So what does a just transition actually look like in practice? Well, it requires some very specific critical steps. First, seafarers are going to need highly specialized training to handle volatile, emerging alternative fuels like hydrogen and ammonia. These things pose brand new, severe safety risks if they're mishandled. It also means securing fair working conditions, like the equal pay and shorter contracts we were just talking about, within this newly minted low-carbon economy. And it means actively creating new green jobs while preventing the current workforce from being displaced by automation or a lack of training. We essentially have to connect our highest environmental goals right back to the human beings who will actually have to handle these dangerous new technologies out in the middle of the ocean. So, as this massive trillion-dollar shipping industry goes green to save our planet, a pretty critical question remains. Will we finally take this opportunity to prioritize the humans steering the ship? We've seen their incredible resilience through piracy, isolation, exhaustion, and completely unequal pay. This green transition offers a once-in-a-generation chance to not just upgrade our fuel, but to upgrade the fundamental human rights and working conditions of the invisible workforce that keeps our world running. It's definitely a question we should all be asking the next time a package arrives at our door. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.